Hi friends, let's talk about turmeric. Should you take it in the morning or at night? What should you take it with and how do you take it? Actually, I'm going to do better than that. I'm going to show you how I take turmeric in my everyday foods for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, for snacks. And if you watch the entire video, you will learn some cooking and eating tips with turmeric that will help you to easily add this ancient coveted spice into your everyday life. But I know you're probably wondering about turmeric supplements and whether or not that's better. Well, there's actually a lot of confusion because many people think that they're equivalent, but they are actually not. And it's important that you know the difference due to potential food and drug interactions, as well as toxicity and benefit. Hence, be sure to watch to the very end. Now, if you're a skeptic about the power of turmeric and why this is the most studied spice on earth with over 10,000 publications, let me show you the data. Now, let's start from outside in. Oral turmeric has been shown to benefit chronic skin diseases such as psoriasis, pruritus, oral lichen planus, facial redness, and some skin cancers. Now, I've always believed skin problems are a reflection of your gut health. Many people have indigestion, bloating, gas, and some studies suggest that taking 500 milligrams of turmeric 4 times a day after meals and before bedtime had similar improvements in symptoms as taking an antacid called amerisol. Now, even turmeric essential oils has benefited people to reduce symptoms of indigestion, reflux, diarrhea, and constipation. And for some people who have very severe bowel issues, such as inflammatory bowel disease, such as ulcerative colitis, small studies have shown that curcumin, 1.5 grams taken twice a day over a month, could potentially help to calm inflammation in some of those people. Now, this is a big deal because IBD or inflammatory bowel diseases can be so severe that people can lose their bowel. Now, I'm not telling you these doses because I want you to take them. These are basically publications, and these are the reports that I've been reading. But if you're interested in taking a supplement, it really depends upon the formulation of your supplement. Whether you're having turmeric powder or you have curcumin extract, all of these different formulations, whether they're a nanoparticle formulation or not, and whether you have fat or not, or piperine or not, can have very different biological properties in your system. So, the best thing to do is to find yourself a doctor who can understand how to read these articles, even if they have no background, but they can help you interpret how many milligrams would be beneficial for your particular supplement. Because if you take too little or if you take too much, you could potentially get no benefit or toxicity. So it's really important that you know the drawbacks. So be sure to watch till the end of this video when I'm going to focus on that. Now, I've been working out since last year, focusing on building muscle health, doing more resistance training to build up my core and my strength as I age. And I'm noticed that sometimes when I work out too much, I get sore. And several studies have evaluated different formulations of curcumin on muscle function and recovery and soreness after exercise. And there are some reports that there's also a reduction in muscle soreness, improvement in muscle strength, and range of motion when people take turmeric. It also decreases pain and soreness, but the effect is a few days after exercise. And if you've been watching my videos, you know that I'm really doing all this to preserve my brain, memory, and capacity, my cognition. I don't want to get dementia of any sort, including Alzheimer's. And there are some studies that show that taking turmeric may decrease the amount of plaques built up in the brain. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. That's up for interpretation because now we know that plaque isn't just plaque. It's actually induced by something that's probably driving dementia. And the big problem for why people get dementia is because they don't have blood flow. And how do you preserve blood flow? Well, a big problem is that they don't have good blood pressure and they have too high cholesterol. That affects both. So no matter how you slice it, cholesterol out of whack will impede your blood flow to your brain. And too many people focus just on their heart. I mean, seriously, folks, what's the point of having a good ticker when you've checked out up here, right? So when it comes to cholesterol, don't make up your own kind of pathophysiology. It's imperative that you preserve your blood flow to preserve this up here. And we're not just talking about dementia, we're talking about depression. And turmeric has shown that in some people there may be benefit. It can improve your blood flow to get your cholesterol numbers right, to lower your cholesterol. Turmeric and curcumoids have been shown to reduce triglycerides, total cholesterol, reduce LDL cholesterol, and raise HDL cholesterol. And since cholesterol is tied to the liver because the liver controls cholesterol metabolism, turmeric has also shown to improve fatty liver disease, which is tied to being overweight. And yes, turmeric has shown to help people lose weight. And of course, if you're overweight, you're going to have insulin resistance and joint problems. And guess what? Turmeric has been shown to help with joint pain, range of motion, right? And if you lose weight, your joint pain will also decrease. And so chronic arthritis doesn't just happen overnight. It's something that we personally cultivate. So I personally like turmeric because it's also been shown to protect DNA damage from toxins like arsenic. And smokers, well, they're getting quite a few toxins, right? It's been shown that curcumin over 30 days has been shown to reduce the number of cellular changes that might lead to colon cancer by 39%. If you haven't noticed, we have a colon cancer problem under 50. And there's also published paper for myoma benefit and prostate cancer benefit. And despite this plethora of evidence, I'm sure many people, including some of my colleagues, are still hesitant to take turmeric. Hey, what can I say? It's your loss. For the rest of us, let me show you how I do it. First, let me take a drink from my turmeric tea. Yep, it's that easy. You can put some turmeric root or you can spray some powder and sprinkle it in some warm water. You can buy it in the produce section next to the ginger or a dry powder in the spice section, or you can go to the supplement section. All three forms are beneficial, and I do all three depending on what I'm trying to do. And of course, they're not all the same. The difference between fresh turmeric and turmeric spice or the powder and turmeric supplements can be dramatic. Fresh turmeric root is closest to how turmeric has been historically used. It contains curcumins plus a whole bunch of volatile oils that's not in the powder. It has polysaccharides and fiber. And these components, they work together to support digestion, bowel flow, your gut microbiome health, as well as to squash low-grade inflammation. Now, fresh turmeric has relatively low concentration of curcumin, right? Because there's a lot of water, there's a lot of fiber. So curcumin is diluted, but it acts gently and is best suited for everyday long-term use. Now, turmeric spice or powder that's dried, that's ground up, that's from the turmeric root. And drying concentrates curcumoids slightly, but reduces the volatile oils. There's always a trade-off. It still contains a whole root matrix and retains food-level safety. But of course, you have to worry about heavy metals. I'll talk about that a little later. However, when you heat it, some things are lost. You should eat it with fat. That's normal cooking. That improves absorption. And turmeric powder is best for consistent dietary exposure, decrease inflammation, and to support your metabolism. Now, I think most people can benefit from a 4 teaspoons of turmeric powder a day. It's supportive of long-term health, and you can sprinkle it throughout the day. Again, it's best absorbed with a little bit of fat, and that's why people cook it with fat, like to make curry. If you're going to take a turmeric supplement, it's also best to take it with food. Supplements, like I said, have some drawbacks, which I'll talk about later. But in certain situations where people are struggling to get over some stressor in their body, they may have to megadose turmeric in supplemental form so that they can concentrate the bioactive molecules. You're concentrating curcumin and C-cumoids in a supplement. You're removing the natural matrix, and many of these supplements include piperine or nanoparticles to enhance blood levels. Now, these supplements are more pharmacology rather than food, so there's a potential of toxicity, and most people believe that black pepper increases absorption of turmeric. That's not correct, even though it's on the entire internet. I know it's telling you that. Now, I'm not the one who's doing the research studies, but I can read. And pepperine in black pepper is an enzyme inhibitor of your liver. So the problem with turmeric is that your curcumin gets destroyed very rapidly by liver enzymes as soon as you eat it. But if you take some black pepper or piperine, then that inhibits those liver enzymes, and then you build up curcumin levels thousands-fold in your blood. And that's why these supplements are more powerful, as well as more dangerous. They deliver higher systemic levels, which may be useful for short-term inflammatory issues like pain. But they also increase drug interactions and food interactions, since liver enzymes do more than just metabolize curcumin. That's why piperine should be avoided. Black pepper has a high dose of piperine. And when I was in medical school at Loma Linda, I was looking for black pepper because I liked the taste. I couldn't find it anywhere. And then one of my classmates said, "Oh, we don't serve black pepper. 7-Day Venice, they don't eat black pepper because they believe it's irritating and stimulating in a negative way for your health." So it's fascinating that there is some truth to their teaching, right? Maybe that's why they're a longevity culture. Too much curcumin can cause bladder irritation, alter bile flow, cause gut discomfort in some people. And for them, fresh or turmeric spice may be a better form to deliver it more slower and gentler. Supplements are stronger. They're targeted and they're really context dependent. And traditional cultures, they just eat food, right? They're not supplementing. However, I'm in the camp that there is a role for both, so I do both. I can summarize the benefits of turmeric in one word: anti-inflammation. Now, don't get me wrong, the body needs some inflammation, but unfortunately, we are surrounded by pollutants that are inflaming our bodies all the time. So we're getting extra inflammation that we shouldn't need and the ancestors didn't have. Air pollution that kills 7 million people a year, folks. And apparently, we're going to have more on it on this earth by all these governmental policies. Eventually, our pollution settles on land, becomes land pollution, ocean pollution. So that means our food has pollutants, no matter how organic, grass-fed you think your food is. There's also natural germs that are always trying to get us, inflammatory pathogenic microbes. We mustn't forget our food system that incentivizes companies to use the cheapest ingredients to sell us stuff to eat. And the heavy metals, the dioxins, the plastics, they're all taxing our immune system, causing inflammation. You really want that? I don't. And even if you ate fresh, your food can trigger anaphylaxis, whether that's eating honey, peanuts, or red meat. So it behooves all of us to look for foods that counteract all that inflammatory trigger, including spices that can calm our immune system. And turmeric is one of them because it has many bioactive compounds, not just curcumin. But curcumin is the most potent and well-studied, and it interacts with multiple inflammatory pathways to calm them down. So every time I take a sip of my turmeric tea, or I eat oats sprinkled with turmeric, or I eat some popcorn sprinkled with turmeric, or I eat my curry made out of turmeric, I know that I'm getting down antioxidants that downgrade and regulates NF-kappa B, one of the master switches that turns on inflammation. It interacts with KOX2 and locks enzymes and cytoines like TNN-alpha and interleukin-6. These are all cytoines that skyrocket when your body is inflamed by a trigger. And don't get me wrong, these are all normal cytoines. We actually need some of this, but we should be able to turn it on and off as soon as we don't need it, right? And here's why turmeric supports your recovery. But on the other hand, these molecules also make us feel bad. And that's also the balance between the two. Too little, it keeps us sick. Too much, it keeps us sick. And that's why I start my day with a little turmeric to prepare my body for challenges ahead. Hi, friends. I am so thrilled that you want to take charge of your health and take charge of your food. Now, I know nutrition can be complex, but it doesn't have to be. And I'm here to support you in this lifelong journey. So if you point your camera app to this QR code, it'll take you to a link for a free handout that I created just for you. And if you like it, if you want to see other handouts, please go to the link in my show notes, and then you can leave me your feedback on what I could do to help you in your journey. Okay, back to the video. Now, our bodies have a clock. It's called a circadian rhythm. That's why your right arm doesn't age faster than your left arm. Makes sense, right? This is the same for your metabolism all over your body in every single cell. We are meant to cycle with the sun. Get up in the morning, look at the sunlight, go to sleep, and wind down when the sun goes down. So our body is primed and activated with a little inflammation because in the morning our cortisol goes up, our sugar goes up, and our immune cells starts moving. Having curcumin on board early is like getting a conductor for the train to help watch out and prevent excessive damage on this road trip today. Hence, that's why I start my day with turmeric in multiple ways. So, the first thing I do is I take my nutritional supplement. It has turmeric along with 21 other nutrients, and I also sprinkle some turmeric on some oatmeal. And like I said, I sprinkle it on some snacks. I just sprinkle turmeric powder throughout the day. And sometimes I actually eat curry. And of course, I said that turmeric is better absorbed with fat, so I'll eat some nuts, and I use turmeric for flavor. But it also talks to my biochemistry, my cells for the entire day. And morning is a unique window because your immune system, your liver, your gut lining, your hormones, your inflammatory pathways, they're all transitioning from an overnight repair state into a daytime exposure state. And what you give your body in the morning, if you give yourself the right equipment or not, in terms of nutrients, will change how you react throughout the day, right? Will determine how inflamed you get and how resilient your body is, your immune system is to the challenges that will unfold in the day. We literally are what we eat, folks. Turmeric works well because it doesn't overstimulate or suppress aggressively, and instead it kind of nudges your inflammation into a balance to prepare for the pollution from just eating food or whatever life stacks up on you. And the thing is, inflammation is not just being in pain or having swelling. Inflammation can present with brain fog, low energy, high blood sugars, insulin resistance, vascular stiffness, high blood pressure, irritable gut, gut permeability, skin problems, mood disorders. These are all symptoms that people ignore. Your body is inflamed. Your body is crying out for help. And that's why cortisol naturally peaks in the morning, to kind of get you ready. And in case you didn't know, cortisol is an anti-inflammatory hormone. However, chronic cortisol suppresses your immune system too much. It actually increases inflammation downstream. So curcumin really helps to buffer that, helps you with cellular stress tolerance, mitochondrial efficiency, which means cells generate less inflammatory signaling per unit of stress. So this is why people often report cleaner thinking, less stiffness, steadier energy when turmeric becomes a part of their morning routine. And in case you didn't know, turmeric also works beautifully mixed with your favorite flours to make your favorite bakery items. And when you combine it with cinnamon, ginger, cardamom, that turmeric will enhance the warmth without having that medicinal taste. From a metabolic standpoint, adding turmeric in your morning really helps blunt post-meal inflammatory glucose and insulin spikes that normally follows refined carbohydrates and high saturated fats. Yep, it's another hack to get yourself insulin sensitive, and that's why I like to pair my oats with turmeric. A small pinch stirred with oats. You can put cinnamon, berries, ground flax seeds. All are supportive to lowering your blood sugars and lowering low-grade inflammation that comes with diabetes and being overweight. It supports your gut and vascular health that can only be good for your brain. You can eat turmeric, savory, or sweet. And remember, oats, they're beneficial for your gut bacteria. And turmeric also reduces inflammatory responses made by bacterial fermentation byproducts. This combination is totally powerful. And oats by itself has so much beta-glucan, basically soluble fiber to help reduce post-meal sugar surges while supporting microbial diversity without triggering an excessive immune activation in the gut wall. Remember to keep it oat growths and over time. This will help reduce the bloating, post-meal fatigue, low-grade endotoxemia that is driving chronic diseases. And you get those from eating high-saturated fat meals, your bacon and sausages that cause gut permeability and leaky gut. Sprinkle turmeric on avocado toast if you want some fat. Slice avocado is one of the simplest ways to get your fiber and anti-inflammation in. And your avocado increases fat absorption, potassium, vascular tone, that remember that fiber, that gut health. You add some turmeric, have a powerful antioxidant, anti-inflammatory combination, which supports your endothelial function early in the day, which matters because blood vessels become more vulnerable to oxidative stress during morning blood pressure surges. That's why I start my day with improved endothelial resistance, reducing my blood pressure, decreasing my cardiovascular risk over years, not just hours. And some people prefer turmeric mixed in yogurt, smoothies, or warm plant milks. These options are good as long as you have just a little bit of fat present, and you can always eat some nuts. Curcumin absorption without fat is actually extremely low, which is why turmeric capsules taken on an empty stomach often can be disappointing. And hence another reason why food-based turmeric works a lot better, because there's some fat, because you're consuming it in a natural matrix rather than an isolated compound. And most people will naturally just eat 30% of fat in their meals. So you don't have to worry about that. Unless you're trying to lose weight, then you really need to reduce that fat, or is unlikely that you're going to have much success with weight loss and get healthy at the same time. And nobody eats zero fat unless you're eating like chemical food. There's even fat and green leaves. And this really aligns how curcumin was evolved for us to use, right? It slowly interacts with our digestion, with our bile acids, with our gut microbiome, as opposed to flooding our bloodstream unnaturally. Another reason why turmeric is especially useful in the morning is that overnight your immune system performs surveillance and cleanup. So in the morning, it transitions into a defensive posture, right? Ready to respond aggressively to pathogens, to stress, and to tissue damage. And once you get going in the day, you're exposed to so many various stressors, including pathogens every time you damage tissue. How many of you guys are clumsy like me and getting paper cuts, bumping into furniture? Well, curcumin appears to improve your immune discrimination, meaning that you don't want to overreact to harmless stimuli while still responding appropriately to real threats in hopes to reduce the risk of unnecessary inflammation that drains your energy and may contribute to autoimmune activation over time. And turmeric has been shown also to improve your gut barrier early in the day, getting ready for you to eat whatever bad food you're going to eat. Intestinal lining is more permeable in the morning, partially due to circadian rhythms and tight junction proteins. Now, curcumin, It helps to stabilize these junctions, and it reduces inflammatory signaling that's triggered by food antigens and bacterial fragments. And this is another reason why turmeric in the morning may help to reduce food sensitivity, skin reactions, and systemic inflammation that otherwise appear later in the day because you're eating food that you probably shouldn't be eating. And if you're taking turmeric supplements, just know that they have been found to be contaminated and potentially concentrated with heavy metals such as lead. And that's why I take my own supplement, because I test the product for lead and heavy metals. So I know what I'm taking. And some brands have been tested and deemed to have actually not the amount of curcumin that they claim on their bottle. And other brands make a combination like piperine from black pepper, which I don't advise for anybody taking medications. Now, I believe in enhancing absorption through turmeric by eating a little bit of fat, or by bromelain, which is an enzyme found in pineapple that has no known drug interactions. And that's why I have bromelain in my supplement, besides the fact that bromelain has been shown to have many other beneficial properties that piperine does not. Now, from a brain perspective, curcumin crosses a blood-brain barrier and influences microglial activation. Microglial are immune cells in the brain that regulate inflammation, synaptic pruning, and neuroplasticity. That means it helps your brain grow. So morning microgelatin matters because it affects your attention, your emotion regulation, your cognitive endurance throughout the entire day. And by calming excessive microglial activation early in the day, turmeric, it may support better focus and emotional steadiness without that overstimulation. And of course, turmeric interacts with your metabolism, with your insulin signaling. Low-grade inflammation interferes with your insulin receptor function, especially in your muscle and your liver cells. And when turmeric reduces inflammatory interference early in the day, glucose handling improves, not just at breakfast, but across subsequent meals. And this is why people notice more stable blood sugars and fewer energy crashes when turmeric becomes a morning habit rather than an occasional supplement. Now, there's also a liver connection that is often overlooked. In the morning, your liver shifts from nighttime detoxification towards daytime metabolic processing, and curcumin that supports phase 2 detoxification enzymes in your liver, as well as your bile flow without overstimulating your liver metabolism. And this gentle support is ideal early in the day because it enhances clearance of inflammatory byproducts and environmental toxins encountered throughout the day. And another underappreciated benefit of morning turmeric is its effect on oxidative stress. Now, your mitochondria generates more reactive oxygen species as your activity increases during the day. So curcumin acts as an indirect antioxidant, not by neutralizing free radicals directly, but by activating NRF2 and other endogenous antioxidant systems. This creates more of a longer-lasting protection that aligns with your body's natural rhythm rather than overriding it. Like everything else, consistency matters more than dose. Small amounts of turmeric eaten daily in the morning accumulate biological effects throughout repeated signaling, not through pharmacological spikes. And this is why culinary uses often can outperform supplements for long-term inflammatory control, because people are also not consistent with supplements. It also reduces the risk of side effects, such as gastrointestinal discomfort or interactions with medications with these combination supplements. The spiced turmeric isn't a stimulant, which makes it ideal for morning use alongside your cough, your tea. It doesn't force alertness. It supports resilience. And this distinction matters because chronic stimulation without inflammation control accelerates aging, while resilience based on strategies slow it. So whenever you take a supplement or even buy food, the question is, are you getting what your label is promising you? Of course, when you buy a spice, you think you can see what you're buying, but you can eat it, and you think you can taste a flavor difference. But when you buy a capsule, you're just swallowing the capsule. It's hard to tell what's in it or what flavor it has, but quality actually depends on where the powder is coming from. Now, it's been shown that turmeric from Bangladesh, depending on the region, can have 11% to 20% contamination in lead, but samples in India did not, so this is a spice from India. And this was from data published in 2019. But just because you live in the States and buy it locally doesn't mean you're safer. So in 2019, turmeric purchased at a local supermarket in Las Vegas actually caused people to have elevated lead levels because they were imported from Afghanistan. They actually had astronomical lead levels. And let me just reiterate, no amount of lead is safe. Even low levels should be avoided. So you want to get the lowest amount. Turmeric extracts that were tested by consumer labs They were actually found to have no lead contamination, unlike turmeric powder. So if you're worried about lead contamination, turmeric extracts is actually safer than spice powders. Now, in practical terms, eating turmeric in the morning is about layering protection after exposure. And this is before air pollution, stress, screens, decisions, eating food, environmental insults, they all accumulate throughout the day. And turmeric can give you a little bit of buffer. So over years and months, this buffer translates hopefully to less stiff joints, fewer inflammatory flares, steadier cognition, improved metabolism, and a quieter immune system that really conserves his energy for real threats. And turmeric is not a drug. It doesn't work overnight. It doesn't work in isolation. You can't go eat a bunch of inflammatory stuff and expect turmeric to be your miracle solution. This is not going to dramatically lower your blood sugar cholesterol if you keep eating foods that actually causes your blood sugars to skyrocket and your muscles to be insulin resistant. If you want to learn more about that, watch the next